Hello and welcome to another Let's Draw tutorial with Procreate. This is the illustration we'll be completing today. And as always, I've provided a brush pack and color palette for you to download. So grab those in the description below. The canvas size is 2000 by 2500 pixels at 300 dpi. And when you're ready, let's draw. Once you've created your canvas, the first thing we're going to do is change the color of our background. So let's head over to our layers menu by tapping on the two squares. We're going to go to background color, and then we're going to select the third color in the first row. And then we can tap on the two squares to come out of that menu. We're then going to go over to our color palette, and we're going to switch it out to the first color on the first row. We are then going to pinch with two fingers just to make the canvas a little bit smaller. And then we're going to head over to the S-shaped ribbon. We want to be on rectangle and color fill turned on. And we're going to drop it in a rectangle starting roughly about here. And then we're going to just leave a little bit of a gap at the bottom of the canvas. We are then going to go over to our brush set. And we need to be on the Monoline Smooth. I've got the opacity here set to 100% and I've got the size set to 2%. I'm going to start on this bottom left-hand corner here and I'm going to draw in a diagonal line. And I'm going to hold my pencil in place to snap to the quick shape. And I'm going to position it roughly about this sort of angle. And then you can go ahead and drag and drop that colour into that space. And now if you've got a little bit of excess running on the corner here, you can go to the S-shaped ribbon. Be on rectangle, but turn color fill off here. And then we can just select the left-hand edge and then we can go ahead and drag that off the canvas. And then that will tidy up this edge here nicely. We can then go back to our layers. We're going to slide layer one to the left and duplicate it. We're going to go over to our arrow tool. We need to be in uniform mode with snapping turned on. And we're going to flip this shape horizontal. We are then going to drag our pencil over to the left and then it should snap to the edge of the canvas. So you should see that orange line running down the left-hand edge of your canvas. And then making sure you see 3 horizontal lines as well. And then tap on the arrow when you're done. We're then going to go over to our layers and we can actually pinch those 2 layers together. We're then going to tap the plus sign for a new layer and we're going to drag layer 2 underneath layer 1. We're going to go over to our color palette and we're going to select the second color in the first row. And with the Monoline Smooth brush selected, the opacity still at 100%, I'm just going to bring the size up to about 4%. I'm going to start on the outside of the canvas and I'm going to make a swooping line like so to the other edge of the canvas. And then we can go ahead and drag and drop that color in. We're then going to go to our layers. We're going to tap the plus sign for a new layer. We're going to tap on this layer 3 and we're going to clip and mask it to layer 2. So whatever we draw on layer 3, it will only show up on layer 2. So let's go over to our color palette and we're going to switch it out to the last color in the top row. We are going to go to our brush set and we're going to select the soft brush. I've got the opacity here set to 100% and the size, I'm going to bring it up to about 20%. And we're just going to go ahead and darken the bottom edge of this pink area here, leaving this top section lighter. And I'm making multiple strokes to make it darker. We're then going to switch out the color to the third color in the top row. I'm going to bring the size down ever so slightly to about 15 or so percent. And then I'm going to darken this bottom edge even more. And then we can go ahead and switch it out to the first color in the first row. But here I'm going to bring the opacity down to 70%. And then I'm going to just darken up ever so slightly that bottom edge. We are then going to go to our magic wand tool. We're going to select Gaussian blur and we're going to slide our pencil from left to right till we get to around 25%, just to smoothen out that transition. And then we can tap on the magic wand tool when we're done. We're then going to go over to our layers. If you're happy with how your gradient looks, you can actually pinch it together with layer 2. We are going to tap the plus sign for a new layer and we're going to drag this underneath layer 2. We're going to switch out our colour to the second colour in the second row. We're going to bring back the opacity of the soft brush to 100%. And I'm going to increase the size to roughly around 25%. And then we're just going to go ahead and lighten this section up here. We're then going to go back to our colour palette and we're going to switch it out to the orange colour. I'm going to bring the size down of my brush to about 15% again. And then we can add this orange here. We're going to go back to our colour palette and we're going to select the last colour in the top row. And then we're going to add a bit of this pink in the sky. We're going to go back to our colour palette and we're going to select that first colour in the first row. We're going to bring that opacity back down to 70% and we're just going to darken this top section here, like so, just using light pressure. And then we're going to go over to our magic wand tool, Gaussian blur, and we're going to slide our pencil from left to right until we get to around 30 or 35%. I think I might bring it up to 33%. And then tap on the magic wand when you're done. We're then going to go back to our layers. We are going to tap the plus sign for a new layer. We're going to switch out our colour now to that third colour in the top row. We're going to go over to our brush set. And I've got a stamp here called the Skyline Silhouette. So we're going to select that. I've got the opacity set to 100%. And I've got the size here set to around 50%. We're just going to go ahead and tap on the canvas. We're then going to go over to our arrow tool and you can move it around to a section that you prefer. Well, I'm going to move over right to the left-hand side because I do like those palm trees. And then tap on the arrow when you're done. And if, like me, you've got that little bit of a gap here, we're going to go ahead and head over to our S-shaped ribbon with rectangle and colour fill turned on. We're just going to go ahead and drop in a rectangle here just to fill that gap in. And then tap on the S-shaped ribbon. We're going to go over to our layers. We're going to tap the plus sign for a new layer. We're going to tap on layer 5 and we're going to clip and mask it now to our skyline. We're going to tap on the end and we're going to scroll up to the blending mode of multiply. Multiply is great for adding shadows. We've got the correct colour selected. We just need to switch out our brush to the soft brush. And I'm going to bring the opacity up to 100% here. And I'm just going to lower the size down to roughly about 8%. And with light pressure, I'm just going to darken up the bottom edge of our skyline, making multiple strokes. And if you want to, you can go over to your magic wand tool, go to Gaussian blur, and then pop in maybe a 5% blur just to soften out that transition. And then tap on the magic wand tool when you're done. We're then going to go back to our layers. And if you're happy with how that looks, you can pinch those two layers together and tap the plus sign for a new layer. And we're going to drag this underneath layer 4. We're going to go over to our colour palette and we're going to select the fourth colour in the top row. We're going to switch out our brush to the Skyline Silhouette. Again, I've got the opacity set to 100% and the size is set to 50. I'm going to tap on the canvas. I'm going to go over to the arrow tool and move it around until I find a part of the skyline that I like. I think this will be just fine. But again, we've got that gap here at the bottom. So let's go over to our S-shaped ribbon. Make sure you've got rectangle selected with colour fill turned on. And then we're just going to go ahead and fill in that bottom edge. We're then going to go back to our layers. We're going to tap the plus sign for a new layer. We're going to tap on this layer and we're going to clip and mask it. We're going to switch out our colour to the third colour in the bottom row. We're going to switch out our brush now to the soft brush. And then I'm going to lower the size down to about 6% at full opacity. And we're just going to go ahead and just add in a bit of a highlight here at the bottom, just to add a bit of a haze there. And I'm using super light pressure too. And again, if you want to, you can go to your adjustments, Gaussian blur, and just slide your pencil from left to right just to soften that out ever so slightly. And then tap on the magic wand when you're done. We are then going to go to our layers. And then if you're happy with how your skyline looks, you can pinch all of the skyline layers together and tap the plus sign for a new layer. We're going to drag this new layer 5 underneath our skyline. We're going to go over to our colours and we're going to switch it out to that first colour in the second row. We're going to go over to our brush set. And we're going to go back to the Monoline Smooth. I've got the opacity here set to 100% and the size is at 4%. We're just going to go ahead and draw in a circle. Hold your pencil in place to snap to the quick shape and tap one finger on the canvas to make it perfectly round. And then you can go ahead and drag and drop that colour in. And then going to go over to our arrow tool with uniform and snapping turned on. And we're just going to place that at least in the vertical centre. But if you see that blue line running horizontally, that's absolutely fine. We're then going to go back to our layers. We're going to slide this layer to the left and we're going to duplicate it. We're going to go to the bottom one. We're going to switch out the colour now to the second colour in the second row. And we're going to go ahead and drag and drop that onto our sun. We're going to go back to our layers and you'll see that bottom layer 5 is now changed colour. We're going to tap on the N here and we're going to lower that opacity down to 80%. We're going to go over to our arrow tool. With uniform and snapping still turned on, we're going to grab this top right hand node and just make it a little bit bigger. And then we're going to place it into the centre, making sure you see those crosshairs. We're then going to go back to our layers. We're going to slide this bottom layer 5 to the left and duplicate it. We're going to go to the bottom one, tap on the N, and we're going to bring that opacity down to 60% this time. We're then going to go over to our arrow tool and we're going to make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to go ahead and place that into the centre, keeping the running edge at the same distance between each of the layers. We're then going to go back to our layers, slide this one to the left and duplicate it. We're going to go to the bottom one, tap on the N, and we're going to scroll down to 40% this time. We're going to go over to our arrow tool, and then we're going to make this one bigger, and then place that into the centre, make it a little bit smaller, and then pop it back into the centre like so. We're going to go back to our layers. We're going to slide that bottom layer 5 to the left and duplicate it. Go to that bottom one, tap on the N, and we're going to lower this one down to 20%. We're going to go over to our arrow tool, and we're going to grab this node and then stretch it out to make it a bit bigger, and then place that into the centre. And now you should have something that looks a bit like this. We're then going to go back to our layers, and if you're happy with how your sun looks, we can then pinch the sun layers together. We can go to our arrow tool. I might bring mine up ever so slightly, maybe make it a smidge smaller and place that back into the centre. And then tap on the arrow when you're done. We're then going to go back to our layers. We're going to go to the very top layer and tap the plus sign for a new layer. We're going to switch out our colour to the first colour in the first row. We're going to go over to our brush set and we're going to select the Explorer stamp. Now I've got the opacity here set to 100% and the size is set to 7%. I'm just going to go ahead and tap on the canvas. I'm going to go over to my arrow tool and I'm going to place him in the vertical centre of the canvas and then tap on the arrow when you're done. I'm then going to go back to my layers. I'm going to slide this layer 6 to the left and duplicate it. I'm going to go to the bottom one, go to my arrow tool, and this is going to be his shadow now. So we're going to flip this vertical and then we're going to drag it down just so that it's touching the bottom of his feet. And then we're going to switch it out to distort. And we're going to grab this left-hand node at the bottom here and we're going to stretch it out over to the left, like so. And then we can actually turn snapping off here and then we can have a little bit more control where we move the shadow. So I'm going to move it down ever so slightly and over to the left until we've got something that looks a bit like this. We're going to head over to our eraser tool. We're going to make sure we are on the soft brush. I've got the opacity here set to 70% and I've got the size set to 20%. We're going to go ahead and very gently just erase this bottom edge here of the shadow, just to blend that in with the background ever so slightly. We can then go over to our magic wand tool, Gaussian blur, and we're going to slide our pencil from left to right until we put in a very subtle 2% blur, and then tap on the magic wand when you're done. And if you pinch with 2 fingers, go full screen with 4, that's today's tutorial complete. Thank you so much for following until the end. I hope you had fun with this tutorial. Please do come and share your designs with me over on Instagram. I really love seeing all your hard work, and I'll give you a shout out to my stories as well. I'll leave a link to all of my socials in the description below so you'll know where to find me. If you don't mind, please, if you could just like this video, subscribe and hit that bell, that would be awesome. Also, I do have a Patreon account. I'll leave the link to that in the description below as well. And you can find more tutorials, exclusive content over there. So feel free to join me. And with all that said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.